What is going on, everybody? And I hope you had a fantastic weekend. This is NYG Jeffy T 85, and I'm here to talk about the Brooklyn Nets as they're getting ready to start training camp very soon, and they will be holding their media day today on the Yes Network. There's going to be Steve Nash as well as SeanMarks and various new Brooklyn Nets players that are going to be at the media talking about the upcoming season as well as previewing training camp that's going to be happening starting next week. Now, also a little bit of Nets news that happened today. The Nets actually signed somebody to a training camp contract, and that, of course, is Marcus Zegorski, who was part of the G League last year, where he ended up playing in at least 8 G League games, and he averaged about 10.1 points with 3 rebounds per game and 2.3 assists for the Brooklyn Nets Long Island Nets G League affiliation. Zagarowski was signed to a camp contract, so he's pretty much going to be part of the Brooklyn Nets training camp going into the training camp next week. Now, in terms of training camp right now, the Brooklyn Nets right now have 20 players that are currently part of the training camp going into next week. That, of course, is going to involve also Donovan Williams, who the Nets signed to a summer league contract this past summer. Donovan Williams as well as Zagarowski should be part of the Nets maximum 20 players part of this training camp upcoming. That includes 12 fully guaranteed contracts. I think we have an idea who those 12 guaranteed contracts are. That also includes 2 partial or non-guaranteed contracts. That, of course, is a couple of guys that the Brooklyn Nets signed that are not guaranteed contracts. I believe one of them might be Markieff Morris, in fact. They also have 2 two-way contracts, which I think is the guys that David Duke Jr. is one of them, and I believe Kessler Edwards is the other one, as well as 4 Exhibit 10s contracts, which are, of course, Zagarowski, Chiozza, Wannabe, who they signed about a couple of weeks ago, and, of course, Donovan Williams. These are all these guys that are pretty much trying to fight their way to make the roster. The two-way contracts are guys that are pretty much part of the G League, but also assigned to main roster contracts. So these guys might be involved with training camp going forward, or with the team going into the season. So this is the type of thing that the Brooklyn Nets have to look for in terms of what exactly is going to be part of the team in terms of their main roster and what guys are going to be affiliated with the G League. So here's a little bit of a breakdown of the Brooklyn Nets training camp roster as we speak. Training camp's going to be starting very soon. The NBA season is just around the horizon. So here's pretty much the guys that are going to be involved with the training camp roster for the Brooklyn Nets going into this season. Now, we all know about Chris Chiozza. Chris Chiozza is back on that Exhibit 10 deal, one of those 4 guys that were involved in this. He's also a guy that was part of the Warriors last year. He was played in the Brooklyn Nets about half the season last year. Pretty much a spot player, point guard. So Chiozza is going to be part of that roster. 5'11", 170-pound guard on this team, and he's 26 years old. You're going to have to see if Chiozza can maybe make this roster. Nicholas Claxton, we all know what Nicholas Claxton, he was part of this team last year. He's pretty much a guy that the Nets are relying on as one of those big young core players, 23 years old, 6'11", 215-pound developing center, who actually started to play a lot better on the defensive side of the game. So we're going to have to see how Nicholas Claxton is going to look. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a big-time piece for this team going forward. He just needs to remain healthy and needs to develop his offensive game. Seth Curry, who I actually did a preview video a couple of days ago about how important Seth Curry is going to be on this team. He's a guy that's going to be one of those primary outside shooters for the Brooklyn Nets. So look for him. Look for Seth Curry to be one of those primary shooters on the outside to be able to provide the Nets with that perimeter shooting as well as being able to drive to the basket and draw some fouls. David Duke Jr., one of those two-way contract players. David Duke Jr. is one of those guys that's those gritty, in-your-face, do-it-all type of players. David Duke Jr. is going to be a guy that's going to look to try to make this roster with the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant, enough said. The dude is pretty much the guy that the Nets need to have a great season. 33-year-old forward, 6'10", 240 pounds. The Nets need Kevin Durant to be Kevin Durant and stay healthy. That's what the thing is, and the Nets have to try to keep him happy. Just David Duke Jr., 22 years old, 6'5", 205-pound guard. But Kevin Durant is so essential to this team. Your 3-and-D player, young 3-and-D player from Pepperdine, who the Nets signed last year as an undrafted free agent, Kessler Edwards, 22 years old, 6'8", 215-pound, small forward / power forward. This is the guy that's going to be fighting for minutes, but he's a key 3-and-D player, what the Nets need. They need 3-and-D players, so we're going to have to see how Kessler Edwards is going to look out there, and if he's going to be able to garner some solid minutes for this Brooklyn Nets team going into training camp. Joe Harris, Joey Buckets, one of the guys that's been here for one of the longest tenured Brooklyn Nets on this team. 31 years old, 6'6", 220-pound shooting guard / small forward, recovering from 2 ankle surgeries this past offseason. But he has size and he has length at that shooting guard / small forward position. Harris is a key player on this Brooklyn Nets team. They need Joe Harris to stay healthy, and he needs to start playing effective on the outside. Harris is a key player on this team. The Nets missed him last year. So hopefully Harris can come back and he can stay healthy. KyrieIrving, another one of those key players on the Brooklyn Nets. The 30-year-old guard from New Jersey, 6'2", 195 pounds. He missed 2/3 of last season due to the vaccine mandate. But Brooklyn Nets need KyrieIrving to have a big-time season. With the vaccine mandate in the past, KyrieIrving is one of those key players on the Brooklyn Nets that needs to come out and he needs to play out. Hopefully he ends up doing that. Patty Mills, Nets signed him to a contract extension this past offseason. He's going to be bringing that experience as well as the backcourt depth and, of course, his three-point and mid-range shooting. Patty Mills is going to be a key backup point guard / shooting guard on this team. Good addition for having Patty Mills here. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table. The 6'4", 6'1", 180-pound, 34-year-old point guard / shooting guard. Markieff Morris. We all have gone in depth. If you're a Nets fan, we know how important Markieff Morris is going to be to this roster. 6'9", 245-pound forward, 33-year-old. He's got a championship ring on him. He brings toughness, leadership, grit. He has that don't take no you-know-what attitude, and that's what we got to love about a player like Markieff Morris. So I cannot wait to see what Markieff Morris is going to bring to this roster. Royce O'Neill, another 3-and-D guy. 3-and-D wing. That's what the Nets lacked last year. You have another one right here. Royce O'Neill, 3-and-D wing player. Can hit the 3 outside, plays great defense on the perimeter. And he's going to be another one of those BenSimmons perimeter defenders that's going to help this Nets team out going into the season. So I can't wait to see what he's going to bring to the table. Durant Sharp, young, 20-year-old, 6'11", 265-pound center. Big bruiser. Might be actually playing a little bit. He's going to play more minutes this year because he's pretty much going to be that backup center for this team. So I'm curious to see how Durant Sharp is going to do now that he's going to be one of the guys that's going to be a backup center on this team. He's going to get primary minutes. I just want to talk about Royce O'Neill, what he is. 29 years old, 6'4", 226-pound 3-and-D guy. But Durant Sharp, he's going to be a key backup that the Nets need to help bring size, toughness, rebounding, shot blocking, inside post. That's exactly what they're going to be looking for. BenSimmons, another one of those key players for this Brooklyn Nets team. BenSimmons missed all of last year. We know about the mental health issues he's been dealing with. We know the fact that he's been dealing with shooting issues. He obviously had that sit-down interview with J.J. Redick not that long ago. BenSimmons is the X factor on this Brooklyn Nets team. He's the X factor. He's the X factor. He needs to come out and he needs to provide the Brooklyn Nets with that defense, 3-and-D. Another 3-and-D guy is becoming a pattern. 3-and-D players. Kessler Edwards, Royce O'Neill, and of course BenSimmons. He's got length. He's obviously not a three-point shooter though. That's the problem. He's not a true 3-and-D guy. He's a guy that's going to be a playmaker where he's going to get his players and other players involved. He's going to pass that ball out, kick it to their three-point shooters, as well as he's going to play fantastic perimeter defense. That's what we need Ben Simmons to do. Ben Simmons needs to be that toughness outside. Hopefully he's going to be able to do that. Edmund Sumner, 26 years old, 6'4", 196 pounds. Point guard, transitional threat, coming off a major injury. I want to see what Edmund Sumner can bring to the table. Another guy that's going to potentially fight for minutes, might not even make the roster because of how deep we are. But Edmund Sumner is that gritty, tough point guard that will play good defense. Let's see what Edmund Sumner can bring to the table. And of course, Ben Simmons, just go back to him. 26 years old, 6'11", 240 pound, point guard, shooting guard, wherever you want to play him. Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas, one of those young Nets players who's going to be looking to carve out a major role on this Brooklyn Nets roster. He's an incredible shooter. He's a great shooter. He can score and light up points like none of the other players on the Nets besides Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can. 20 years old, 6'4", 210-pound guy, second year out of LSU. But Cam Thomas right now struggles when it comes to his defense and passing the ball. That's what Cam Thomas needs to do in this season. He needs to be able to become a complete player if he wants to get more minutes. So Cam Thomas is going to be one of those players on the Brooklyn Nets who are going to be looking to see if he can become a complete player on this Brooklyn Nets roster. Let's see what he can do this upcoming season. Yuta Watanabe, 27-year-old, 6'9", 215-pound forward who played with the Toronto Raptors last year. Japanese player, came out of Japan a couple of years ago. He's a guy that's going to bring the defense off the bench. That is Yuta Watanabe's main objective, is defense off the bench. And hopefully he's going to be able to provide that. He's got a non-guaranteed deal right now, so he's going to be fighting for a roster spot as well. But he does bring size. Like I said, 27 years old, 6'9", 215 pound. More size to that front court. Let's see if Watanabe can maybe carve out a roster role with this team. TJ Warren, 29-year-old, 6'8", 220 pound forward, power forward / small forward. This guy is a gifted scorer, former 18 to 20 point scorer from the Phoenix Suns as well as the Indiana Pacers, being four. Unfortunately, he's been dealing with injuries for the past couple of years. But this dude knows how to play the offensive side of the game. It's just all about health with TJ Warren. But if the Nets can find a way to keep this guy healthy, you have another gifted scorer along with Cam Thomas coming off that bench, as well as Seth Curry. So this is a guy that can be an important player off the bench in terms of the scoring aspect of things. And they don't have to worry about relying on guys that just can't get it done on the offensive side of the court. TJ Warren is a key player. Hopefully they can keep him healthy going into this season. And last but not least, Alondis Williams, Wake Forest player, coming to his team. 6'5", 210 pound, 23-year-old. He's signed to a two-way deal right now. Another one of those players, along with a Kessler Edwards, as well as a David Duke Jr., signed on a two-way deal right now with the Brooklyn Nets. Needs to work on his jump shooting. He's probably most likely going to be on the G League most of the season. He's going to be a seasoned player on that G League, and the Nets are going to try to get the most out of him in terms of seasoning him out, getting him ready. Maybe he plays some minutes during the season. Don't expect a whole lot from Alondis Williams, but I think this is a guy the Nets want to get as much experience as they can in the G League and try see if he can maybe make an impact with this team in the 2023-2024 season. But I like Alondis Williams. I think he brings toughness. I think he brings good defense. I think he's a solid intangibles player. But the problem is he needs to work on the shooting end of things. He can score. He's a very good one at driving to the basket. But he needs to work on that shooting a little bit more in the NBA, when he's in the NBA. So those are the Brooklyn Nets in terms of their roster makeup, in terms of like who's going to be part of the training camp roster. Chris Chiozza, Nicholas Claxton, Seth Curry, David Duke Jr., Kevin Durant, Kessler Edwards, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, Markieff Morris, Royce O'Neill, Deron Sharp, Ben Simmons, Edmund Sumner, Cam Thomas, Yuta Watanabe, TJ Warren, Alondis Williams, and Marcus Zegorski. Those are going to be part of your Brooklyn Nets training camp team going into training camp in about a week or so. And don't forget, coming this morning as well as early afternoon on the Yes Network app, the Brooklyn Nets are going to be holding their media day today as they're getting ready for training camp, and obviously with the NBA season just around the corner. You're going to be hearing from Steve Nash, the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, as well as GM SeanMarks, and you're going to be hearing from various players on the Brooklyn Nets, namely guys like BenSimmons, Kevin Durant, KyrieIrving, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, Seth Curry, Patty Mills, Markieff Morris, etc. You're going to be hearing from a bunch of Nets players. They're going to be talking about what they're looking forward to in training camp and obviously their outlook for the 2022-2023 NBA season. We're all going to be on the lookout for what some of these Nets players are going to have to say going into this very, very critical and pivotal NBA season for the Brooklyn Nets. So that's the news I wanted to give you guys today about the signing of Marcus Zegorski, player who's going to now be part of the Brooklyn Nets training camp roster. He signed to a camp deal. Obviously, he played in the G League. Once again, his numbers were last year. 8 games last year in the G League. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2.3 assists. Part of the G League last year. As well as going over the Brooklyn Nets training camp roster as the Nets are getting ready to start training camp next week. And they're going to be having their media day today with Steve Nash, SeanMarks, and various players speaking to the media today. So I hope if you guys like this video, please hit the like button below. Sub up if you haven't already to NYGJeffyT85 for more Brooklyn Nets, more news, updates, and chatter surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think about that training camp roster that's been put together. What players you're looking at that might make a special impact and could possibly make this roster that weren't looked to make the roster originally. What you guys want to hear during media day today. What you want to hear from SeanMarks as well as Steve Nash as well as some of these various players. What kind of things do you want to hear from these players and from the coach as well as the GM at media day today. And turn on the bell for notifications on when the next video or short are going to be dropping on the channel surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. So I thank you guys so much. Let's hear what this Brooklyn Nets, head coach, GM, and this roster have to say at media day today. We're getting ready for training camp soon, so it's exciting times right now around the Brooklyn Nets. Let's see what this team is going to be putting together during training camp and obviously during the 2022-2023 NBA season. It's a pivotal year for the Brooklyn Nets. Drama's been put to the side. Time to get to work. Time to see what these superstars can bring to this Nets team going on to the table. Time to see if this Brooklyn Nets team could shut the hell up with the nonsense and the drama and go out there and deliver a winning product to the Brooklyn Nets fan base. So I really curious to hear what this Brooklyn Nets team and these Brooklyn Nets players and the coach and the GM are going to say at media day today. And I will tomorrow break down some of the things that the Brooklyn Nets players, GM, and coach said today during the media scrum. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Take it easy, and let's go Brooklyn Nets. It's a Nets world, baby. And guess what? You just live in it.